Good morning. How are you all? Lovely to see you. Good morning, Peter. Good morning, Carol, Rachel, Mervyn, Estelle, Susan. Good morning. You're all looking well. And it's a beautiful day. Traffic is horrendous around Woodside Park. Thank God. That's why I'm late. Anyways, today's learning is dedicated in memory of Ami Bas Aryeh, Paul Casimir, Yom Yochia ben Moshe Eliezer, Shlomo Yochia ben Moshe Eliezer, Ben Sion ben Yitzchak, Ari ben Shimon, Leah Bas Feivel, Harav Abraham Mordechai ben Moshe Katna, Chava Bas Pesach. Well, now what's the problem? So I hope you can still see me. Apparently there's some internet issues. Let me just open the door. In fact, we're going to move because they've got internet issues. Hold on. Okay, should be better now. Okay, so today we want to talk. I hope that's better. I hope the connection is better for you. So I want to talk about the concept which we find in Torah portions week, which is the concept of Kiddush Hashem, which literally means sanctifying the name of God. Okay. It's one of the most important concepts that we have. What we are here for. Seem to be having some technical issues today. I hope that you can. So the concept we find, 1 minute, I'm going to use them. We seem to be getting a bad connection. Bear with me. This is the joys of internet. Okay, that should make it a much more. We know that we were told we were expected to sanctify God's name, right? And priests. Now, if we are meant to be God's representative, okay. Hopefully, we now have. Hopefully, we're going to try. We're going to try one more time. Okay. I'm afraid this is beyond my control. That's the difference between doing something online and doing something in person. I think it's okay now. Okay. Apologies. It really is nothing I can do about it. I'm sitting on the router. There is nothing else I can do. So the idea of sanctifying God's name is something that we're all familiar with. It's something that we grew up with, right? And let's just explain it very briefly. So when we were commanded at Sinai, the giving of the Torah, time of divine revelation, God said to the Jewish people, that you are going to be a nation of priests. Now, what that means is we became God's representatives in the world. We became that light to the nations. And the idea is, how do we represent God? So we don't go around handing out God's business card saying, hi, I'm God's representative. But what we do, or what we should be doing, is that we are able to represent God, to reflect God, to be an ambassadors for God through our behavior, through the way that we behave, the way that we turn up in all spheres and walks of life. Now, that's very challenging. It's very challenging because, of course, that means the way we drive, the way we stand in a queue, and we can, the way we speak to people. At every twist and turn, we have the opportunity to represent God in a positive light or in a negative light. There is one aspect of sanctifying God's name, which is, of course, the ultimate, which, of course, Rebbe Akiva, dreamed of doing, and eventually he did do. It's not something that most of us would be up to task for, so we're not going to be asked of us. And that, of course, is dying al Kiddush Hashem, which is what was required of so many of our of the previous generations, which died simply because they were Jewish, be it in the Holocaust or be it somebody like Daniel Pearl and others that have been executed because they were Jewish. But in a sense, a greater challenge for many of us is to live every single day as Jews and to do the right thing. And that's not always easy. And we all know, and I think if I was to ask any one of you that are watching, you'd be able to say to us, well, I know examples of people that did the wrong thing, that did what's called a chilul Hashem, a desecration of God's name. They embarrassed us. They shamed the Jewish people. They brought our name into disrepute, of the Jewish people, and it makes the headlines. And you know why it makes the headlines? Have you ever wondered why it is, that when there are so many other people that would be doing these type of things, for example, weddings in lockdown? I don't think the Jewish people, those which were highlighted in the Daily Mail or whatever newspaper, I don't think they were the only ones out of 17 million people that made weddings. In fact, we know they're not, but it's Jewish weddings, and more is expected from us, whether we like it or not. And therefore, when a Jew steals, does tax evasion, or when a Jew, for example, breaks the COVID rules, it makes headlines because everyone expects more from us, whether we like it or not. Whereas if a non-Jew were to break the COVID rules, it's not a big deal. What's so special about that? And I think that's something to bear in mind. So let me give you a little story about perhaps what I feel was certainly a great manifestation of sanctifying God's name. And that is about a man called Aaron Feuerstein. You may have heard of him. Aaron Feuerstein in the 1970s and 80s had built up an incredible business. And his business was Malden Mills. They made fleeces and they made clothes with special lining. And he was doing exceptionally well. He'd been a family business for many generations. And one night he got a phone call, and his whole factory had caught on fire. He arrived to find literally the whole business had gone up in smoke. There was nothing left. So the obvious thing to do at that stage would be to make an insurance claim and to say to the employees, "I'm very, very sorry. It hurts me more than it hurts you, and I understand that you're not going to have work for the next year or perhaps ever, but I am going to, I'm going to take me time to rebuild the business, right? I've got to go through all the red tape and all the legislation, and therefore to basically say to them, you don't have a job because there's no factory, no work." He didn't do that. What is extraordinary is Aaron Feuerstein kept paying his staff day after day, week after week, month after month, for months on end for not working. He paid his employees not to work. There was nothing to do. There was no work. And it was the story in America. It was on the front page of Time magazine. It was on the front page of Newsweek. It was on CNN. It was on every CBS. It was on every single channel. You can look him up, Aaron Feuerstein. And in the interview that you can watch on YouTube, they ask him, they say to him, listen, what in the world, we've never seen anything like it in the business world. What type of model is this? That you have taken huge loans, it's going to, there's a risk that it could wipe you out in order to pay staff for not working. And he said, my faith is what drives me, and that is my moral compass. And I've been brought up to do what is right and to be a person who keeps their word. I committed to these people to employ them, and therefore I have to stick to my guns and I have to keep to my word. He became known, it was written across, the Mensch of Malden Mills. You'll look it up, the name of his firm, the Mensch of Malden Mills. And each month you see him and he stands in front of the staff and he gets them back together. They filmed it. And he says, we still don't have a business, but I managed to secure loans. And for another month, I'm going to pay each and every one of you for not working. And all of a sudden, you see all the staff, the blacks and the Hispanics, and everyone comes forward and hugs him and says, I can't believe it. Thank you so much. And he's giving the checks out. And it was incredible. Now, I'm not saying that we're on that level where we could ever do such a thing, but the awareness, the sensitivity that we have an opportunity, we have a responsibility, and we can make a Kiddush Hashem, we can sanctify God's name. It doesn't have to be through heroics. It doesn't have to be giving up one's life or putting one's life on the line. It can be through the way we go about our daily business, because everyone sees us, like it or not, as Jewish. And therefore, when we do something, they don't see it as Estelle, Alan, Susan, Harry, Caroline, whoever is doing this particular thing. They see it as a Jewish person is doing this thing. And therefore, we have the opportunity to sanctify God's name. Israel very often doesn't get, I think, sufficient credit. Its humanitarian efforts are absolutely astounding and remarkable. And even during Pfizer, it has now vaccinated far beyond the call of duty in terms of beyond the population, helping the Arabs, helping other people, and offering guidance and support even to this country with the Pfizer vaccine and everything else. And I think that what Israel does is what we need to do, which is to stand by the values which we all cherish, and that is that just to have that greater awareness wherever we are, that we can say to ourselves very easily, that little voice says to us, it doesn't matter, nobody's watching, what difference do I make? I don't count. Every action that we do counts, and everyone's looking at what we do. The cosmic camera is always running, and please God, we should all be able to live up to this lofty ideal of sanctifying God's name through our actions. That is what this life is all about, and in doing so, we will be able to bring tremendous honor both in heaven and on earth. I apologize again for the disruption this morning. I will speak to Virgin Media and see if they can do anything about it, but in short, we are back. It seems to be fixed, the problem, and we'll continue now with Psalm 23. Apologies for the delay. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He causes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even as I walk in the valley of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You set a table before me in the presence of my adversaries. You anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for the length of days. Adon Olamim Zacho Es Nishmos Ami Bas Ari Paul Kazmi Yom Yochir Ben Moshe Eliezer Shlomo Yochir Ben Moshe Eliezer Ben Sion Ben Yitzchak Ari Ben Shimon Leah Bas Bible Avram Mordechai Ben Moshe Katna Chava Bas Pesach. Yosef ben Avram Yisrael ben Rachamim Sasun Esther Ko Fredo, Bas Menachem Mendo, Harris Yisrael, Ben Rachamim Sassoon, Voshanim Ispalim, Baboram, Bezvadas Kashnish Masehem, Gan Eden Temunuchasam, Lachim, Rachamim, Yasim, Setakana Pabiolamim, Veyetzozachem Sashom, Adonai, Nachlasam, Yanuchu Shlamish Kavam, the Namar, Amen. Lastly, before Shalem prayer, wish everyone long life. Misha Bacham Saint Robin Sam Yakom Moshe David Shlomo Yivarach Bezachilim. Voshanim Ispalim, Baboram, Bezvadas Baruchu. Yimalei Rachamim Aleichem, Lachim Lefosam Yishlach Lem, Nashmaim Bechavem Beso Shach Yisrael. Amen. Glad we finally got there this morning and we managed to have a program despite the fact of the disruptions with Virgin Media. But thank God we're there. We wish everyone well. Keep safe, keep well. We have a special program tonight at 8:30 celebrating Lag BaOmer. I look forward to seeing you for the final session tomorrow, and that is 9 o'clock in the morning. And then we've got 4 p.m. we are having with David Berman and Sammy a lively Lag BaOmer Kabbalat Shabbat. Take care. Have a great day, everyone. Lovely to see you.